Hello again. On the Sunday, there was heavy rain in London, and as a result, there was some localised flooding, what's known as flash floods. Not only did drains back up, so did the sewage system, and some people found their homes contaminated with floods from the sewers. Not a pleasant experience. In Hammersmith, a 90-foot high geyser erupted, consisting partly of clean water but also of raw sewage, which then ran along the street. I knew at once that an explanation would be produced for what happened. It would have to be a fashionable one, obviously. What could it be? Institutional racism? COVID? Transphobia? Climate change? In the event, climate change was the handiest excuse that could be found, as you can see from the article in The Guardian, to which I provide a link above. It is headed, "Flash floods will be more common as climate crisis worsens," and goes on to say that flash flooding of the type seen in London this weekend will become a more common occurrence as the climate crisis worsens, scientists have warned, and the UK government, businesses and householders must do much more to protect against future harm. Dr. Jess Newman, a hydrologist at the University of Reading, said, "Flooding from intense summer rainfall is going to happen more frequently. No city, town or village is immune to flooding, and we all need to take hard action right now if we are to prevent impacts from getting worse in the future." I need hardly say that the real reason for the drains and sewers in London backing up and being unable to cope with rain has nothing at all to do with global warming. It is because the city is now so jam-packed with people that all the drains and sewers are stretched to the very limit of their capacity during ordinary times, and a bit of rain is enough to cause them to overflow. It's the immigration, stupid. 40 years ago in 1981, 6.5 million people lived in Greater London. Today, there are over 9.5 million. That is an increase of very nearly 50%. The sewers are the same, but now they have to cope with 50% more human waste. We need 50% more water, and 50% more water is being discharged down domestic plug holes and drains. It only takes a tiny bit more water in that system and things quickly begin to go wrong. Storm drains, the ones we see in the gutter in the street, are also under huge pressure. Every time somebody concretes over a front garden to provide parking for a car, it means that a shower of rain is not absorbed by flower beds or lawns, but instead runs straight into a drain. School playing fields used to soak up a lot of rain, but if you build houses on them, then all that rain instead has to run off into the storm drains. And still the building continues, placing ever more strain on the drains and sewers. Anybody who lives in London knows that most of those 3 million new residents are immigrants or the children of immigrants. London is bursting at the seams because most immigrants who come to Britain want to live in London. Because it is so multicultural, it's a vicious circle. The latest predictions are that within 14 years there will be another million people in London. The infrastructure simply cannot cope, which is why the drains are collapsing and the sewers fire geysers into the air sometimes when it rains heavily. Of course, it's not only the plumbing which is under strain. It's the same with doctors, dentists and hospitals. There simply are not enough to cope with these new people. The population of London may have increased by 50% since 1981, but we do not have 50% more hospitals or 50% more doctors, nor do we have 50% more tube trains, buses, shops, or 50% of anything else. Because nobody wishes to address the real nature of the problem, which is high levels of immigration, Those in charge will fall back instead on blaming global warming for any problems. Things are set to get much, much worse because a conspiracy of silence, which also involves central and local government, journalists, the BBC and most politicians, means that no one will really talk about what's causing some difficulties. The situation cannot improve because nobody will be truthful about what's causing the problem.